Oh, it's recording. So I saw Terminator Genesys yesterday, and it kind of butt fucked the whole Terminator franchise. It was terrible. It was fun to see Arnold finally back in a Terminator movie again, but not as an old man. They could have at least done some makeup to make him look younger, I guess. I don't know. But it was awful. The movie first starts off in the future, the post-apocalyptic future, and they've won. They've beaten Skynet, but Skynet sent a Terminator back in time just before they got beat, just before it got beat, so that Terminator could kill Sarah Connor, and then would kill John Connor, and John Connor wouldn't exist, none of the victories wouldn't exist, and then Skynet would be back online as soon as it killed Sarah Connor, which was a good idea. That's following the original plot, although I didn't know they won when Skynet did that, but whatever. So yeah, they beat Skynet and everything, and they send Kyle back in time, but just before they sent Kyle back in time, there was a scene, it kind of jumped out at me. I was like, whoa, what is that? Like, when they're sending Kyle back in time, he sits on the platform or whatever to go back, and everyone's looking up like, yeah, he's gonna save the world, blah, blah, blah. And I could swear I saw frickin' Matt Smith, a.k.a. the 11th Doctor, standing there in the background, and I thought, okay, did they put him there just to get a nerdgasm out of people? Because Matt Smith, in a scene in a movie about time travel, is just, you're gonna get some nerdgasms there. And, yeah, I think that's what they did that for. In fact, at first he was just standing in the background, and I thought, was that really him? And yeah, but then when John Connor's looking up at Kyle, and Kyle's about to go back in time, Matt Smith's standing in the background looking straight at the camera, like, hey, do you guys see me? I'm over here. Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I'm Doctor Who over here. And I just thought they put him there for that, but it turns out the last second when Kyle's there, just like 2 seconds before the little big bubble appears and he's out back in 1984 or whatever, Matt Smith's hand starts glowing red and he puts it over John Connor's mouth and he says, you didn't think it'd be that easy, did you? I'm going to put a Kill Bill reference in there, but I won't do that. And that was, it was interesting. I thought the movie was going, I can't talk right now. I thought it started getting a little shaky towards there. So then Kyle's back in time, and they did a pretty decent job of recreating the scenes from the first movie. They could have just like computer generated or whatever or done some magic editing to the first movie to make it look like it was modern footage. But they did a pretty good job, except when we see the Terminator pop up and there's the guy in the garbage truck and he's like, what the hell? They don't get his exact words right, but they did the scene pretty well, and that guy looked pretty close to the guy who was driving the garbage truck. And they got a CG Arnold, and they used some footage of Arnold from the first movie. They touched that up a bit to make it look newer, but it was mostly a CG Arnold, and he looks better than he did in Terminator Terminator Salvation. It's CG Arnold, but it still looks kind of cheap and cheesy. And I don't know why they didn't just take in the first scene and just edit it to make it look original, because when he goes to talk to those guys and then they're all like making fun of him for being naked and then he kills them and steals their clothes, the guys look kind of different. Like, they didn't have Bill Paxton. No offense, Bill Paxton, but you can't be that expensive of an actor to have in a movie for like 30 seconds. By the way, I think you're a pretty awesome actor, Bill Paxton. Anyway, so they didn't even have Bill Paxton in it, because if anyone remembers, that was like, I think that might have been the first movie he was in, the first Terminator, when he's the guy with the blue spiky hair and the tire track on the side of his face. The guy with the switchblade was like, fuck you, asshole, who said it kind of cheap and cheesy like that. But they didn't use those guys. One guy's got a green mohawk. Like, that doesn't even look remotely close. Their clothes look similar, if not exact, to the first movie, but the guys just looked way too different and weird. But they got all the references right when they're like, wash day tomorrow, nothing clean, right? And he's repeating them. And they're like, I think he's a couple cans short of a six-pack. But then old Arnold just comes walking up behind him and pulls down a hoodie like he's a master assassin or something like that. Which typically he is, but that's not the attitude he should have. He's like, I've waited for you, and then they get in a fight, and old Arnold's getting his ass kicked. He's kind of losing. In fact, the only reason he won the fight is because Sarah sniped the fucking newer Terminator. She sniped the CG Arnold, while the other Arnold's just chilling on a bench with a broken hand, or seemingly broken. It was making noises, and his fingers were twitching all weird and shit. And, yeah, it was bad. But, I gotta clear my throat. When Kyle attacks the cop in the first movie, and he starts asking him the time, which, by the way, I don't know if they got that right, but I didn't pay attention to that. That didn't... Whatever. I guess I could look that up later. Anyways, so he attacks the black cop, which was actually not... I mean, he wasn't the black cop that looked like the guy who should have been on Family Matters. He was, some Asian guy, some Asian cop, and turns out he's a liquid metal Terminator. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's all right. He's a T-1000, but I think the T-1000 was racist towards the nationality that he had taken as his personality, because since the T-1000 is Asian, you know what he had to do? He had to turn his hand in a blade, chop it off, throw it in the air, and make it flip and do some shit or whatever where it flew across the room, and just unnecessary stuff that didn't need to be done just because he's Asian, which is, I mean, you know, what a racist T-1000, you know? And the T-1000 dies in the movie fairly quickly. Like, he does not last very long. Like, he gets killed by acid. Like, I don't know why, but in their base, they've got a bunch of acid on the ceiling, and they fire a bunch of holes, and it starts raining acid, and then he's in the acid, and he starts melting and dying. Oh, and CG Arnold's not dead. Yeah, the T-1000, a little bit of it shit dripped off his finger and went in the other Terminator's eye, and he came back to life. So we got some more CG Arnold, but we only got about another 2 seconds of CG Arnold since Kyle shot a grenade launcher at CG Arnold, so they didn't have to keep CGing him, and they could just have the metal endoskeleton. But they beat the CG Arnold and the T-1000 fairly quickly, and Arnold wasn't really doing anything. Sarah fired a gun at the ceiling, acid bringing down the T-1000's dead. Kyle broke the T-800's head off, and Arnold's doing, I don't know what the fuck, where the fuck he's at, but he's not really doing anything in the movie. He fights, no spoilers yet. Not for that. So anyways, so, turns out they made a time machine to go into the future to, for some reason, stop Skynet, whatever. And since Arnold was holding the T-1000 in the rain, the acid melted off all his skin, but his metal hand was okay, somehow. He said, I can't go in because I'm not all skin here, so I'm just going to have to take the long way around and get even older. And that's what happened. And they didn't go to 1997, they went to 2007 because, no, Skynet's gone. There's no frickin' Skynet. Now it's called Genesys, or Genesys, which is where the movie got its name, Terminator Genesys, or Genesis. They say Genesis, but it's spelled Genesis, or Genesis, whatever. And, so they go to 2017, and they go, like, a day before Genesis comes online. Like, why a day? Couldn't you have gone in a year in advance and had more time to plan? I mean, they pop up in the middle of a highway in an electric bubble, and they're huddling each other, and they're naked, so they look like a bunch of terrorists, so they get arrested immediately. So that kills some time right there to save the world, you know? So when they're getting arrested, Arnold pulls up looking even older. Like, I think they put makeup on him to make him look even older than he is. I mean, what the fuck? That was... No. Oh. Anyway, so, they're at a hospital. I don't know why they took him to a hospital. They didn't seem like they were hurt. I would have just arrested them, honestly, but they take him to a hospital and they're treating him, and it's somewhat futuristic. And then there's this guy who's got his phone, and there's like a counter that says Genesis. By the way, Kyle Reese has 2 timelines now. I mean, like, I'm just going right past a lot of shit here. I'm missing so many things because I just can't even keep track. What the hell happened? Is the camera still going? This piece of shit computer. Okay. Sorry, my computer is a piece of crap. I'm sure you can tell by my high-quality webcam that's not very high quality right now. Garbage. Anyways, so, what was I saying? Oh, that's right. Kyle Reese has 2 timelines. And one of them is where Skynet did happen, which we're not going to go into. We're not going to talk about that because we already talked about that in the beginning of the movie for 5 seconds. And then there's one where there wasn't a Skynet, where he gets a tablet for his 13th birthday, and it's counting down to when the operating system for it called Genesys comes online. And Genesys is Skynet. And, yeah. And then he's looking in a mirror telling himself Genesys is Skynet, blah, 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 blah. I don't even know how the hell they could put that together. I don't even know what the hell was going on there. I didn't understand it. I was lost and confused. All of the time travel methods, like, a lot of them don't make sense, and a lot of them I don't even understand what the hell they're saying because I don't even think they're using real words. And it's just, I mean, everything's lost in a lot of the movie's lost in confusion. And yeah, it was, oh my God, my head's about to explode. It was so terrible. And I'm still like at the beginning of the movie right now, and this video is 11 minutes and whatever seconds, and it was bad. So yeah, by the way, back to what I was saying. They're in the hospital and they get their cuffs off, but then they hear a voice and it's like, oh no, it can't be. That sounds familiar. And then John Connor walks in, like, hey John Connor, hey buddy, nice to see you. How's it going? Yeah. And then she's like, wait, how do we know you're not a Terminator? And he's like, no, you're right. Okay, ask me questions. I know everything about John Connor, blah, 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 because he really is John Connor. But when he takes them out of the hospital and they escape, oh, by the way, gotta go back again. The nurse at a hospital who was talking about Genesys was like, oh yeah, it's going to connect my phone, my tablet, my computer to my car and everything. And I'm like, Apple much? That sounds just like Apple. So I guess Apple's actually going to become Skynet, according to Terminator Genesys. And you know, that's probably true. It might become Skynet, probably not without Steve Jobs, but it had potential. Yeah, so John Connor takes him out, and then Arnold comes out, and by the way, Sarah Connor named him Pops, and he's just boom, boom, kills John Connor, and they're like, oh my God, and then she puts a gun to his head, and I don't know, he won't say anything. It's just like a demon possessed him, and he was just compelled to kill John Connor, because that's what Arnold Schwarzenegger has got to do. There's too many chords in here. And John Connor's bleeding, so you don't think he's a Terminator, but for some reason his blood turns into like a metal powder, and then it goes back inside of him, and I want to say he's like a liquid metal Terminator, but he's not really liquid metal. It's like the same concept as the liquid metal Terminator, except he's metal. He's made of metal dust. Like, he's just a bunch of metal dust that's magnetically held together. And magnets are his worst enemy. You want to save the world, you just need a magnet. You'll be fine. So, yeah, John Connor's a magnetic metal dust Terminator who fights Arnold a little bit. Arnold's having some trouble, you know, because he's old. He keeps talking about how he's old, but he's not obsolete, because Terminators have feelings now, didn't you know? But I guess they kind of proved that in the second movie, that they kind of do understand feelings, and I don't know, they just malfunction and take on feelings of their own. But after he fights John Connor, he tries to stand up, but he can't stand up, so he just bends his knee around a little bit and bangs on it and smacks it, and then he's okay. And he's like, yay, okay, I'm back, we're fighting some more. And then there's a scene where after they leave, they go to some secret base or whatever, and they're loading guns. Kyle Reese and Arnold the Terminator really despise each other, so Kyle Reese and Arnold have like a contest on who can load magazines the fastest. So Arnold's just like, ching, 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 and Kyle's just like, oh, hold on, I'm trying to catch up here. And Arnold's like, yeah, I'm beating you right now. And then he drops a bunch of bullets, and his hand starts freaking out again. And then he's like, oh, well, and he slams his hand down on a desk to fix it. And then Kyle's like, And then Arnold's like, I'm old. And then Kyle says, but not obsolete. And it's like, yeah, okay, that's what everyone was thinking. I guess you just had to say it for the people who were too stupid to figure that out. So they find out they gotta kill him with magnets. So Arnold goes outside and knocks down a PA system and breaks the magnets off the speakers, which I loved because, you know, speaker fanatic here. But and he makes like a little gauntlet for fighting him. He just like smack him around and little parts of him just come off on the magnet. And I mean, a speaker magnet? Really? That's all it takes to stop him? Because, I mean, I've got a couple of those lying around here, and if he comes to my house, do I just, like, throw him at him? And he's dead? You know, he's just metal dust on my floor. I'll just dust bust him and bury him in the yard? Not a very good Terminator. Yeah, you know, John Connor's a bad guy, Arnold's an old man, and the whole plot is completely fucked up and doesn't make any sense. So this is not a Terminator movie. I don't think they did as bad as RoboCop, though. The new RoboCop. I mean, the newer RoboCop was a better movie than this movie, but it did not go with anything RoboCop. But this movie's just, oh my god, it's getting a sci-fi headache right now. It's just thinking about all the craziness and all the things that are wrong with the movie. Yeah, and there's a scene where they're in a helicopter, and Arnold says, I'll be back. Yeah, who wasn't waiting for that? And then he jumps out of the helicopter, flies into the blades of another helicopter, and that helicopter explodes, and I don't know where the hell Arnold went. He just disappeared. And then John Connor crashes, but Arnold came out of that without a scratch somehow. So Arnold, John Connor are fighting towards the end. It's towards the end of the movie. They go to Cyberdyne, which is making Genesis, and they're also making time travel, and fucking shits happen left and right. And John Connor's protecting Genesis, and so Arnold and John are fighting around. And by the way, we knew this was going to happen. I'm just going to say we know what's going to happen after this. We see that Cyberdyne is making liquid metal Terminators. They shine like a little laser light on them, and then they just take the form of a person, and more like a mannequin, not an actual person. They're still silvery looking, but they've got a head, body, and arms, and then when the laser light goes away, they just turn back into liquid metal. But when they see him, and they're like, hey, are those things a threat? And Arnold's like, no, they have no CPU. And I'm like, well, the T-1000 doesn't have a CPU. In the second movie, when Robert Patrick was the T-1000, and he will be the only T-1000, they were shooting him in the face, blowing holes in him. They even froze him and took him down to nothing. So I'm just a little curious, where does the CPU come in there? Like, where is it? Like, is it in his left toe? Because, he got blown into bits, and he came back from that. He was malfunctioning, but he came back from that, so where's the CPU exactly? Is that liquid metal too? Whatever. So, yeah, they beat, oh, by the way, Matt Smith comes in again. Not really, he doesn't come in. He's more of a pixelated hologram. That's all we see of him. Whatever. So, Arnold, John Connor fighting. They're going to the time machine because anything that's not organic just apparently obliterates. I didn't know that. I thought if you put something in there that wasn't organic, it would just... Well, yeah, actually. Okay, yeah, okay, that was right, yeah. I was thinking about it in a different way. But, yeah, anything that's not organic that goes through gets obliterated, and Arnold's missing some skin on his face, and one of his arms is completely missing, so there's some metal exposed there. So he's like, yeah, I'm gonna hold John Connor here because he's not organic, but somehow he was able to go back in time for someone who's not that organic. But now he can't go to wherever this machine was going to take him because time travel is not possible yet. It was possible in 1984, but it's not possible in 2017. In the same movie it was mentioned. And I'm probably confusing you right now because I don't even know what words to say for this stuff. There's just no sentences for this crazy shit. And, Arnold holds down John Connor. John Connor's dead. Okay, he's dead. But Arnold's body flies out of the machine, like, partially destroyed, and then he sinks in a liquid metal. Yeah, yeah, you saw that coming. And so now Arnold is a T-1000 because T-800s can just decide they want to be T-1000s by sinking in the liquid metal. And there's my computer again. Come on, there you go. And so the movie ends. There's no Skynet, there's no Genesis, and Arnold is a liquid metal Terminator now, and Connor Reese goes to his younger version of himself in this timeline because they're there, you know. And he says to him, okay, I want you to remember one thing. Say it to yourself again. I'm like, oh, is he going to say there's no fate but what we make? Or like one of those famous phrases that they've carried out through the movies and the Fox TV show and all that stuff. And he says, Genesis is Skynet. And I'm like, what? How does that help him? He doesn't even know what you're talking about. He just said, keep repeating to yourself, Genesis is Skynet. This little kid, he doesn't know what Skynet is. He's never even heard of it. He doesn't, I don't even think anybody knows Genesis is bad. So I don't know why he wants him to keep repeating that to himself. Like, how's that help him in any way? Like, I just got beat up at school today. Let me think. What did he tell me to say? Genesis is Skynet. Yeah, that makes me feel a lot better. I mean, what the fuck? I don't get that. And then so Sarah, Kyle, and Arnold ride off in, in some vehicle or whatever. I knew that movie was going to be terrible, but what the fuck? That was beyond terrible. That movie was awful. I mean, I gotta end it here. I mean, I'm